quick break. I just want to say thank you for all the people around the world, Jamaica, Germany, Asia, Europe, South America. Thank you for listening to Leap of Health. Thank you for the support. And remember, my book is out. You can find it on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. It's called Parents Are Greatest Teachers. Thank you again for all the support. And now back to our episode.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Alex Valgood, and this is Leap of Health. And today we have Whitney. She's a certified trauma recovery coach that specializes in HSP and adult healing from childhood neglect and abuse. We're going to be talking about her experience with breast implants and how everything gets related to everything, pretty much, because as I always said, we're a whole system. So everything is kind of like related to everything, as weird as that sounded right there. Thank you, Whitney, for being here today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Yay.
Excited.
Yeah, me too. And before we dive into all these breast implant stuff and your experience, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became to be this coach that you are now.
Okay. So I personally come from a background of childhood neglect and abuse. And so when I was growing up, I was intrigued by like why people do what they do. You watch TV and you see these family systems, and there was just kind of this reality and disconnect that's like, I don't have that. Why don't my parents talk to me like this, or ask me how my day is going? And so I started becoming very interested in why people do what they do. And I always had a very empathetic demeanor towards other people, just curious, okay, you're sad. Why are you sad? Let's talk about this. And just really dissecting and analyzing emotions. Mainly because in my home, emotions were not honored well. And so when I would be upset about something, it would be dismissed or shut down pretty quickly. So I went through several years of abusive relationships, trying to find my way into healing. And I thought that I had dealt with my stuff in my early 20s and that it didn't affect me anymore and I'm good. But then I got married, and you put two human beings who just kind of have their own junk together, and sometimes it doesn't go well. Right. So learning how to navigate marriage, and then you throw a couple kids in there. I didn't know how to be a good parent because I didn't have good experiences. And so I started noticing that I was repeating the same patterns that my parents had done with me. And then I started seeing my children display signs of anxiety. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, I don't want this for my children. So then I started digging deeper into, okay, well, what do kids need? And then that just opened a whole can of worms of like, wow, I had no idea my childhood was that jacked up. Mm-hmm. Let's dissect this more. So therapy and all that kind of stuff. And I happened to come across trauma recovery coaching while I was Googling one day and was like, this is it. I'm all in. And so I went all in and I became a trauma recovery coach.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I think most of the times, all of us as coaches, healers, practitioners, we do find ourselves killing ourselves first to help others.
Yes, you have to. You have to.
Yeah. It's one of those that you can't help others before helping you or knowing what it's like to go through things. Obviously, we don't ask for these things, it
Yes.
just happens.
Yes. And a lot of people will tell you the best teachers are the people who have really and truly experienced it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And tell us how this relates to what we're talking about. I know we're gonna uh, talk about your journey with breast implants. When did that happen? How did that happen?
So I'm a very petite woman. I'm maybe 5 foot on a good day, about 95 pounds. And I went through puberty a little bit later in life. I've always been small chested, and growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, like I would hear commercials on the radio about these pills to enhance your breasts, and plastic surgery was all the rage. And I mean, there were so many shows about plastic surgery and full body makeovers. And I became obsessed with that because that was something that I was very unhappy with about myself. I was like, okay, well, apparently being feminine means breasts. I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I, even since I was a teenager, I just had it in my mind. I was like, okay, well, I'll have children. When I'm done having children, I'll just get implants, and then I'll finally be able to be happy with what I look like. So that's what I did. After 3 children, I was finally just at this point where it's like, okay, this is the last piece of the puzzle for me to just feel complete. So in February of 2019, I got breast implants. And within 6 months, I had a emotional breakdown, and it just snowballed from there. Um, Health wise, I saw immediate response, like negative responses, even just waking up from anesthesia and that last or the first week of healing. It was insane. It was insane. So initially, something that I noticed was like my nervous system just constantly being shaky. So in that first week, I was always jittery. And of course, you're hopped up on medication. And so I'm calling the doctor and I'm like, it just feels weird. I don't feel like myself. I'm going through extreme hot and cold flashes, and I just feel very disoriented. Like, well, you just had major surgery. It's probably the anesthesia wearing off, and you're all on all these medications to control pain. Just give it time. Like, okay, okay. Um, and I want to say it was maybe 7 to 10 days post-op. um, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw a friend had posted that she had just had her implants removed because they made her very sick. And I'm like, holy crap, why doesn't anybody talk about this? Did I just make the worst mistake of my life? And so I go to my husband and I'm crying and I'm like, oh, I just read this and she experienced this. And, could we have done something horrible? He's like, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We did our research. All we can do is just hope for the best. Let's do what we need to do and see what happens. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we'll see what happens. Um, so we continue on, and I just progressively got more sick. Um, Within 3 months, I was diagnosed with PCOS, um, and started having a lot of cysts rupture, which is very uncomfortable. Um, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. My thyroid just completely shut down. So I had to get medicated on that. I started having extreme sensitivity to sound and light. I was having vertigo issues, not being able, I would get disoriented and just fall over. Panic attacks, heart palpitations, like it just, I knew something was wrong. Um, so I, went to my plastic surgeon and I'm like, hey, this just doesn't feel right. And I said, I know that there is a chance that your body can reject implants. And she immediately cut me off and was like, that's a lie. That can't happen. People who spread that information are misinformed, and started just going off about how it's not even possible. Like breast implants are completely safe. And just really made me feel like I was crazy for even suggesting that my body could be having an adverse reaction. So I dismissed it. I shoved it down. She was like, yeah, most people in their 30s, they start noticing that their body changes. And that's when you get diagnosed with all these autoimmune disorders. And I'm like, okay, so this is just life. I'm in my, early to mid 30s. I guess this is just what happens. Yeah. So after some diving into my own research, I realized that's not true.
Yeah, of
That is
course.
not true. So I had already previously been diagnosed as celiac. So I had one autoimmune disorder previous to getting the implants. And then through countless testing to figure out what was wrong with me, we also discovered that I have the MTHFR gene mutation. So my body is not able to naturally detox on its own. So you put these implants in, and interestingly enough, like they are full of toxins and neuroinhibitors. They have been known to disrupt your natural hormones. They can cause neurological issues. It's insane. So having these in my body, already having one autoimmune disorder and not being able to naturally detox on my own, it was just this perfect storm to cause chaos within my body, my nervous system, my brain. Um, it, yeah, I felt crazy for a long time. And it was probably 2 years after having them, I was like, honey, I can't do this anymore. I need to get these out. And he was like, okay. And so we went down that journey of getting them out.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long time. I mean, you were feeling bad at the 3-month mark from having them.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a long time. I didn't want to believe that that's what it was,
Mm-hmm.
because I had fought for so long to feel womanly. And now having breasts and feeling womanly, like I didn't want to give that up.
Right.
So, so I got those in February 2019. By September 2019, that's when I had my emotional breakdown, which just spurred a lot of like the mental health issues and realizing, wow, I have not truly healed from any of my emotional childhood trauma. And that is what made me have to like dig super deep into my past, in realizing that it's like boobs aren't going to make me happy. Like, it's in here. It's in my brain. It's in my soul. It's in my being, where it's like I was conditioned to not feel good about myself. Um, and I was conditioned to just shove it all down and not deal with it. You know, I grew up in Texas, so it's that stupid saying, like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and let's just go. Like,
Right.
this doesn't have to be a big deal. Um, and so, yeah, there's also a lot of other things. You know, I grew up in the church, so there was like some spiritual manipulation involved, where scripture being used to kind of push down those feelings as well, of like, well, you know, when you're a new creation, like the old is gone, the new is put on. And I'm totally paraphrasing that scripture, but um so it was just this ideology that if you're a Christian, like, you don't really struggle because you have
Mhm.
faith. And, you know, I'm still very much a believer. I go to church, I love God, but I had to work through the junk that I was taught as a child versus what the Bible actually says, and you know, what I believe. So there was a lot of deconstruction and reconstruction in that. So I have a lot in my history.
Yeah, I think it's a great point you make when you talk about, you know, you thought this one thing, and this could be anything. In your case,
Yeah,
it was breast implant, and we know now there's a bunch of um, articles and tests and all that that they're not the greatest thing to put in your body. And I mean,
no,
from a perspective, I'm a massage therapist and I work with the lymphatic system. Um, and we just know that any surgery, especially a major surgery, because plastic surgery, people thinks is like, oh, I'm just stretching a little bit here, a little bit here. I'm adding a little boobs here and, butt here and whatever. And it's way past that. I feel like, especially women do those things because of the same reason that you did. They need to
yeah,
feel a little bit more validated. They want to look good. They have this ideal body that you're supposed to have, right?
yeah,
And in reality, most of us we don't, because all of our bodies are different. So some of us are gonna have less breast, less boob, less butt, whatever it is,
yeah,
right? And having a major surgery, just a plastic surgery, it really messes up your fascia, like your
yeah,
skin. It is really invasive, as much as any surgeon can come right now and argue that it is not. It is. And I
oh
know it
yeah,
is because that's what I study.
yeah,
And it's very invasive, and it's all these things that are being compromised now. And I mean,
hmm,
our biggest organ in the body, it's our skin.
yes,
So
yes,
how can you disregard just that simple point? And it's just crazy, right? That uh, us as women, we're always struggling and trying to fit in this little perfect box of like this body, this image, this hair, this skin, this all this, to start loving ourselves. We think that once we get that, that's it. We're gonna
yeah,
magically change. And I think this goes along to what you were talking about. You get to that point and then you realize that that was not it.
it's not it. No. And I mean, and you know, you brought up like your body and stuff, but it's like I'm still having to work to reheal my body, like my posture. My shoulders are now very rolled in from all of that. So having to reset my posture, having to detox my body doing like the lymph node massaging. And it's all connected. I still have issues with my nervous system. I developed trigeminal neuralgia about 4 months before I got my breast implants out, and I still have all of that. There's lasting damage. I don't know if my thyroid is ever gonna recover. I now have a $15,000 flat chest for no reason. So I get these scars and all this health issues that may never go away. And for what?
Mm-hmm.
For what? Like,
Yeah.
I still hated my body when I had them. Um, and it wasn't until I had them removed and really dug deep into my mental health, why I even got them in the first place, and correcting how I perceived my body. Um, because reality is, a woman's body is so magical. Like, we birth human beings,
Yeah.
we feed them from our bodies. Like, it's such a beautiful thing. And we dishonor ourselves by buying into what the media says is beautiful this year. Because guess what? Next year, it's probably going to change. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, do you remember the makeup from the early 2000s and the hairstyles? Like, it was atrocious.
Yeah, but even
So,
the bodies too, like they start selling us these, bikini bodies, super skinny, and now um, it's is this voluptuous body that you need to have in order to fit the stereotypes of like what are you supposed to look like. And both examples, I don't agree in any of them because everybody has a different body type. Some of
yeah,
them might be very thin, and that's just your structure, and there's nothing wrong with it. Some other body structures are going to have thicker thighs and butt.
yeah,
Some of them are going to have bigger, breast and all that. But it's how you go about your body, and just being healthy, eat healthy, exercise, do the things that are going to keep your body in a healthy state, and you're always going to look amazing, and regardless what your body type is. And
yeah.
I think we just lose track of who we really are when it comes to that physical type that we are going after all of our
Yeah,
lives, because we're just that's what we're our upbringings, social media, TV, anything, right?
it's
That
so
is showing
bad.
us. Yeah.
And as I mean, in your teenage years, looking at all of that stuff, the magazines, the TV shows, you become brainwashed into thinking that that's how you need to look. And kids in that age are so ruthless sometimes, where they will tease and attack over the smallest infraction, um, if you're not cool. And it's hard on a child's psyche,
Mm-hmm.
when you're made to feel like you're flawed in some way. And in my case, not having the parental support to counteract those thoughts, it's easy to buy into it, of
Right.
like, okay, well, I mean, they're not telling me that I'm amazing and that I, don't need to change my body. And so, do I?
Right, right.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
definitely at that age, especially when you're little, the parents play a big, big role on how we can react to certain things, or how we can start molding our thoughts and the
Mhm.
decisions that we make in the long run. And you know, some some people out there are very blessed to have those very supportive parents, but there's a lot of us that our own parents, whether they're busy or didn't have the tools for it. And there's no judging on that. They do what they
Yeah.
can. And
Yeah.
the beauty of now in our times is that we have so many tools, so many alternatives to and methodology to for healing,
Yeah.
that we can, if we feel like there's something that we can improve or heal, such as therapy or coaching or any of that. I think it's just great, and there's never too late to become the best you. What are some of the things that you've done to in your road of recovery from these implants and work on your childhood traumas and all that? What have you done from there to now that you know all this?
Yeah. I mean, tons of research. For one, I became obsessed with research. There, if you have implants or are thinking about getting implants,
Yeah.
go check out the Facebook group called Healing Breast Implant Illness by Nicole. It's thousands of women who have either had them or currently have them, and they talk about their experience. They share the things that they're going through. And that is so informative because not everybody's experience is going to be the same. I have seen women who have had their implants for 20 years and they don't really see anything other than, well, I'm a little tired. Okay, that's still your body trying to fight,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you don't have to live with chronic fatigue. You just don't.
Yeah.
Um, and then I've seen women who get them out within a month after getting them in because they immediately see that change in their body and they're like, nope, can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so definitely research, talk to people, listen to their experiences because you will find people who can relate to what you're experiencing. Also, therapy. Like, therapy is essential for everybody. Everybody has something that they can work through. Everybody can use a little bit of insight on or perspective on just different scenarios. It's really good to have somebody centered, sound advice who can see a situation from a different angle. I love therapy. I probably 3 years into my personal healing journey, and I still meet with my therapist every 2 weeks just
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, hey, let's check in, let's see how everything's going. And I love it. I love it. If we could be best friends, we would be best friends, but I think that's unethical. So um, that I've I do a lot of natural sweating because I am not able to detox normally. So infrared therapy treatments. I have my own little machine off to the side over here. So I do a lot of sweating, exercising, get all those toxins out. You want to eat healthy. You want to take your natural supplements, water, all the water, flush all that crap out. Um, yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. I think, we think about implants, or at least a lot of women thinks about implants like, oh, it's just nothing. I'm just gonna get boobs. But
So
it's
much
a
more.
whole, yeah, it's so much more than that. Like you really, as you mentioned, some woman might not have other symptoms other than feeling tired. But why to normalize all these symptoms that on the long run are so impactful to your health? You know,
Yeah, it we do need to normalize it. We need to normalize a lot. Um, we need to normalize that it's okay to not be happy. It's okay that you don't wake up in the morning with a smile, and that's okay. It's okay to struggle. And I feel like our culture, you kind of have two people, the people that are like, it's not okay. I'm not okay. And then you have the other people that are like, I don't want to hear that you're not okay. Like, just put on the smile. Um, so I think as a culture, we just need to normalize that, like, we are all going through something at some point. And if we would just take a step back and realize it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to let other people not be okay. If you don't have anything to really add to them in that moment, that's okay too. Some people just need you to sit with them and be silent. Some people just need to know that they have somebody that they can turn to. Um, I think, since the pandemic and all of that, a lot of people are starting to notice that they're truly unhappy inside. Um, and I think we just need to be so kind and gracious to each other, because we are all going through something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely be kind to one another and just respect our own journey, right?
Yeah.
Um, some people might be on therapy, and sometimes those people on therapy want everybody to be in therapy, and sometimes some people are not there yet, and that's also
Yeah.
to respect. I
That's
think we
also
all,
okay.
yeah, we'll go all, through our healing journey in different stages. We're all in different places, and definitely respecting that it's a big one too. Um, but know that there's a lot of things that you can do, whether it is therapy. Therapy is also not for everyone, but grabbing a self-help book, talking to a friend, having
Oh,
a
yeah.
loved one, support one another. That's it. Sometimes that's all we need. We don't need all these things that some of us will like I like therapy. I like to talk to people. I like to check in with my friends and see where we are. You might not be that person. You might be like, you know what? I want to get a book. I read some of these things. It resonates with me. I think of it, and then I kind of
Yeah.
like move on. And that's fine too. As long as you are, moving on through life and acknowledging what has been in your past and moving on to
Yeah.
the better version of you, I guess.
I
Right?
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Books became my life. They really did. If I didn't have one in my hands, I had it on audio while I was cleaning, and podcasts and all of that kind of stuff. Anything that would feed my brain and my soul. Um, I grew up thinking that I wasn't very smart. And so I didn't really, like, I didn't go to college. Well, I did, but I didn't finish college. I started having babies. And so I was like, okay, well, that'll be on the back burner. But then, through therapy and stuff and reading all the books, I became just this, I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words. Like, I couldn't get enough. Couldn't get
Hmm.
enough knowledge. So anything to do with like health, spirituality, mental growth, parenting, I was obsessed.
Nice, nice. What would you say to all those younger women out there that are still on that point of like, I would like a bigger breast, and I'm thinking about getting me some implants? What would you tell to all of them before they actually book that appointment to do like a major change in their lives?
Honestly, the biggest thing that you can ask yourself is why. Like, why do I feel like I need to do this? And really be honest with yourself. When I got mine, I was in a lot of denial, and I would say, "Oh, I'm doing it for myself." Like, I want to feel more feminine. I want to be able to go shopping and actually find a bra that fits and not have a lot of gapping. I would love to be able to just put on a dress and not have to worry that I can't fill it out. Um, but that was not the truth. The truth, had to go a lot deeper. In my childhood, I was assaulted, and I was assaulted at a very young age before I had gone through puberty. And that actually turned out to be a huge root in why I got them in the first place, because I didn't want to look like that adolescent body anymore. And I was subconsciously judging people who wanted to be with me, even my husband, like, well, but I don't look like a woman. And it's like, I didn't know this initially, but learning this about myself and my thoughts was huge. So I really had to heal that inner child that was still hurting, to realize, like, okay, this is not what I need. I need to
Mhm.
love me. I need to accept me. What happened does not define me. So, I mean, I would just encourage women to really just look inside and see where that initial desire comes from, and then to really do your research. See if it's worth the risk, because
Mhm.
any surgery is going to have risks.
Yeah. And especially with something that's gonna be as shocking to the body as having something foreigner in your body for a long
Yeah,
time. And
yeah.
and as you know, they last for 10 years, and then you have to like replace them and put some new ones and things like that. So
You're
it's
supposed to.
right. So it's definitely a commitment and just
Mhm.
a whole physical trauma that your body will be going through for a long, long time.
Well, and
So
I like that you brought that up. It is a commitment, and plastic surgeons do not tell you that up front,
mhm,
or most of them don't. That wasn't my experience, and a lot of people that are on the implant illness Facebook page, that's their experience too. You go in, plastic surgeons like, oh, these should last you 20 years or more, and that is false. You are supposed to get them replaced every 10 years. That's part of the paperwork that they don't show you.
mhm,
I never saw any of the paperwork for my implants
mhm,
ever. I didn't get to read anything about them. Um, and there's a lot of doctors that will say, okay, well, the gummy ones are the safest, and those are like the jelly type. Those are the ones that I had. I can't tell you how many pictures of women I have seen who have had theirs removed, and it's nothing but goo. Like, they disintegrate inside their bodies, and they're not supposed to,
yeah,
supposedly. But you're putting something in your body at, what, the average temperature is 98.6. Well, of course they're not going to melt in 70-degree office temperature, but you put it at almost 100 degrees in a body over years, it'll melt. They don't all, but is that a risk you want to take? Because silicone, once it's in your body, and it's in your body, it's hard to get that out.
yeah, for sure. It's a definitely a big commitment. And I think one of the very important things that you mentioned is the why. why do you want this so badly? Why do you really want your change your body in this way, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, literally sit on that question until you have all your whys. And if
Yeah.
they're not enough whys and valid whys and truth whys of why you're doing this, definitely it's not a risk worth taking it, because now you are not only going to be talking about your boobs, now you're going to be talking about like, I am tired, my hormones don't work, my menstrual cycle
Yeah.
is messed up. You will be full of toxins and God knows what. Like on the long run, when you're exposed to all this toxicity, just in general, even if you don't have implants, just in general, anybody that's exposed to toxicity for a long time, eventually your body will break and you will
Yeah.
definitely end up with some sort of like immuno disorder, disease, anything. And
Yeah.
that's just like guaranteed. That's your guarantee pass. Once you put implants, you're putting something that's foreign to the body. It's a major surgery. You're really compromising the fascia and everything that's within that. And not only that, something really important too that I don't think no one talks about is that we have glands and we
Mhm.
have the lymphatic system. It's in part of around the nipples and towards
Mhm.
the axillary section, and that's where your boobs are going to go. That means that you're compromising your lymphatic system to drain properly, meaning the lymphatic system, and you could just go back on one of my episodes about the lymphatic system, but pretty much the lymphatic system is so important because it's taking all the toxins out of the body.
Yeah.
So imagine your body being unable to do that. So now you're going to end up with all this junk inside you that's going to go
Yeah.
somewhere, and that's going to show in some sort of way or disease or anything, or just depends how your body's going to process all this and react to it. So
Yeah.
going back to the question, do you really want this? And why are you doing this? There's so many other things that you could do. Get in shape, be healthy. And I feel like once you're healthy physically and mentally, that will just ooze out of your being. You're gonna just be
Yeah.
one of those people that comes in a room and it's just like people are happy to see you. They want to hug you, they
Yeah.
want to talk to you, and it has nothing to
To do
do
with what you look like,
what you look like at
your
all.
boobs.
Yeah, like it has nothing to do with your boobs or your butt in any of those cases. Because I know, the Brazilian butt and all these things are so popular now. But it's like
Yes.
that obviously is a whole other conversation on how the fascia gets compromised by adding
Yeah.
fat from your own body to different places. So that's another definitely another episode. But it's just like the same thing that we're talking about. Your body gets compromised, and now it's gonna react in a very different way. So
Yeah, I mean, when I first got him in, I was at like the best shape of my life, competing in CrossFit and all of that kind of stuff, like not professionally, but
right, right.
I was in really good shape. And then after that, I just went downhill so fast. Um, I ended up gaining about 15 pounds, which on my little frame doesn't it it didn't look nice. But
Right.
um it wasn't healthy muscle. And it became really hard on my joints, all the inflammation. um I mean, that's another thing, like you get so much inflammation throughout your entire body.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely something to really think about it and sit on it and just the why. And as we mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be implants, just whatever it is that you're
Yeah,
going after it and thinking that once you get there, you're gonna be happy. That's
that's
not
yes.
that's
Yes.
just that's just false. and
Yes.
and from just a personal experience, from, witness experience, just we know that, sometimes chasing that little thing, whatever it is, once you get that job, once you get those boobs, once you get that butt, once you get that family, once you get those kids, whatever it is, the house, the car, I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever that in your mind you think that once you get there, you're gonna be happy. Sorry to tell you, we got there and that was not it. So
No.
definitely, yeah, definitely I think doing some digging, asking those whys do I want this so badly.
Mhm.
It's a really good point to start. And just as Whitney mentions, just whether therapy, whether it's a book, whether it's anything, I think is it's something that will help you get your whys. And by all means, if that's what you want, you can get there and find out for yourself if that's, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if at the end of the day you do decide to go down that road, there's no judgment, but just be mindful of your body and don't push down any symptoms that may pop up just because you really want those boobs or the butt or whatever.
Mhm.
um, be honest about how you're feeling, because the longer you keep it in, um, the harder it is to reverse the damage.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. I hope everybody is listening on that. And just, as I said, it doesn't have to be boobs. It has to be just about anything that you're going after and thinking that that's your happy ending, right? This has been amazing. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. I'm sure it was at all not easy, and you know, and we wish you the best. Hopefully you keep on healing and keep on sharing your story, because a lot of women out there really needs to hear this. And for all of you males listening out there, sometimes we need a little bit of your support to tell us that our flat chested, it's just fine. Or just about
Love your women.
anything. Like everybody's different and we all look different. So we really need sometimes that support from our male partners for sure. Thank you
Yes.
everyone for listening today. If anyone wants to get in touch with you or see what you're doing, all your coaching and all that, where can they find you?
um Email me. I am not very big on social media. I don't like it very much. So email me at wmc.traumacoaching@gmail.com.
Nice. And I will put all that information also in the show notes for anyone that wants to talk to you or has a question or wants to get one-on-one with you too. I will do that. And remember, if you need to know any more about my podcast, you can find me on alexbalgood.com. You can find me on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, pretty much everywhere. And remember, my book is out. You can find it on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. It's called Parents Are Greatest Teachers. Thank you everyone for listening today. And I guess the note for today is ask your wise. That's your homework for today. Thank you everyone for listening. And please do have an amazing and blessed day today. Thank you, Whitney, for being here today.
Thank you.